The top stories tonight in Y News. Search and rescue teams are waging a desperate effort to rescue dozens of people missing after a 12-story condo building near Miami Beach collapsed. Respects to the late former President Benigno Noynoy Aquino III in a public viewing in Quezon City.
The U.S. State Department has approved the possible sale of F-16 fighter jets and missiles to the Philippines. The Philippine Food and Drug Administration grants full emergency use authorization for Bharat Biotech's COVID-19 vaccine.
The Philippines is expected to reach the milestone of administering a total of 10 million coronavirus vaccine doses. And the iconic 1994 Toyota Supra Ruby car from the Fast and the Furious was sold for more than $500,000. Good evening, Philippines and the world. Today is Friday, June 25, 2021. I am Herlene Delgado.
Join us in the next hour as we deliver today's top stories around the country and in other parts of the world. I'm Angelo Castro III.
We are also seen in 1,935 satellite monitoring centers nationwide and via live streaming worldwide through the UNTV News and Rescue social media accounts and our website untvweb.com. I am Kat Dumaraos.
First in the news. A devastating incident woke residents in a residential building in Miami, Florida, USA, when a portion of their building suddenly collapsed. Rescuers are now in an intense search and rescue as nearly 100 people are still missing. One person was confirmed dead, but authorities fear that the numbers could climb sharply. Our Florida correspondent, Ruth De Mesa, will give us more details in this report.
Video footage posted online showed a large portion of a 12-story building named Champlain Towers suddenly collapsing at about 1:30 a.m. on Thursday local time. According to Miami officials, 102 people are declared safe, but 99 are still unaccounted for. These numbers are expected to increase as search and rescue operations continue throughout the night.
As the sun sets on the most tragic day this community can remember, we stand in solidarity once again to tell you we are working around the clock to search and rescue people in this rubble. And we did identify and declare as safe 102 people, and 99 we still cannot account for, some of whom may not have been in the building.
The consulate of two countries, Venezuela and Argentina, say that a number of their citizens are missing. The cause of the collapse is still unclear and investigations are still ongoing. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis asked the public for prayers for the families and loved ones affected by the building collapse and thanked the first responders. He also asked the public to call 305-614-1819 if they have loved ones living in the area who are unaccounted for or are safe. Meanwhile, U.S. President Joe Biden says that the federal government is ready to assist and help with the situation. His administration is also waiting for Governor DeSantis to declare an emergency. Ruth De Mesa, UNTV News and Rescue USA. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
Meanwhile, in this interactive photo made by NBC, you will see the before and after photos of the Champlain Towers South. The collapse tore away walls and ripped open some homes in the still standing part of the building. A 2020 study conducted by Szymon Wojciechowski, a professor at Florida International University found that the building, which was built in 1981, was sinking for decades. And according to officials, the building was undergoing inspection for its recertification. Rescuers are still working overtime to search for more survivors.
Hundreds of Filipinos, including prominent personalities, paid their last respects to the late ex-President Benigno Noynoy Aquino III in a public viewing in Quezon City. Some mourned Aquino's sudden death. Asher Cadapan Jr. will give us more details live. Asher, how's the situation like over there?
Diego, mourners continue to arrive here in the Ateneo de Manila University to pay their last respects to the late former President Benigno Noynoy Aquino III. The urn of ex-President Noynoy was brought here at the Church of the Gesu inside the Ateneo de Manila in Quezon City at 9 a.m. today, while the public viewing was opened at 10 a.m. Health and safety protocols are strictly enforced as required by government regulations during this pandemic. More than 1,000 supporters and other people came to see Aquino's wake.
As someone who's part of the youth, given na wala kami nung people power and all the other things that happened before we were born, sana events such as this open our eyes and open our hearts sa lahat ng pinaghirapan ng mga people that fought for the freedom of our country before.
Parang malungkot. Eh, siyempre, presidente siya, tsaka he served well.
Siyempre, bilib ako sa kanya, makumbabang presidente, mabait. Saka pinaglalaban niya yung Pilipinas dito. Laban sa China, kahit maliit na bansa tayo, pinaglalaban.
Vice President Lenny Robredo explains that Aquino's death was not only a personal loss to his family and other people close to him, but to the whole country.
Alam namin kung gaano kagrabe sakripisyo yung ginawa niya for the country. Pinakita niya yung klase ng leadership na kinakailangan ng ating bansa. Yan yung pagkawala niya, parang end of an era na yung challenge is upon every one of us to continue what he fought for.
The former president comrades, on the other hand, expressed their grief on his sudden death.
Nalungkot ako talaga, no? Kasi si Pinoy yung nagbigay ng kalayaan namin, sa akin. I wouldn't be here kung hindi dahil kay Pinoy. Binigyan na ako ng amnesty back in 2010 and marami kaming nagawa na kapiling namin yung aming pamilya, nakapagsilbi kami sa bayan, all because of that act of generosity, kindness, and magnanimity of Pinoy.
Ayaw niya kaming disturbohin sa sarili niyang mga pagsubok. At ganun talaga si Pangulong Noynoy. Hindi niya, wala sa pagkatao niya yung nagiging pabigat sa iba, ayaw niya yon.
Pinoy's nephew, Miguel Abellada, reveals that they were also surprised of his untimely passing.
He didn't give any signs. In fact, he also mentioned na yung mga kotse niya ipapatune up niya dapat this week kasi he planned to go to Tagaytay or Baguio or even Tarlac just to get away from it all kasi pagod na nga siya sa dialysis na thrice a week. Yun nga lang, hindi na siya umabot sa trip na yun.
Former Senator Bam Aquino, on behalf of his relatives, expressed their gratitude to those who took time to see Pinoy's wake and hope that the nation will remember the late ex-president from his great achievements for the country.
Natutuwa ko kami na may mga pumunta po dito at sana nga po sa mga susunod na araw maalala ho natin siya. No, I think may na-declare po atang 10 days of mourning, no? So sana po sa mga araw na yan maalala ho natin na meron tayong naging pinuno na binigay talaga yung lahat para sa atin. Wala ho talagang tinira para sa sarili niya.
Diego, people may be asking why the late ex-president Noynoy Aquino's ashes were brought here in the Ateneo de Manila. It is because Aquino was a true blue Atenean as he finished elementary, high school, and college education in the university. Diego?
Thank you, Asher Cadapan Jr., reporting live from the Ateneo de Manila University in Quezon City. The late Benigno Aquino III rose to prominence and became the next president of the Philippines after the death of his mother, former President Corazon Aquino. Looking back in our political history, many candidates also won their seats when a family member dies. But why is necropolitics a trend in the Philippines? Nel Marie Buhok reports.
Necropolitics is popularly understood in this sense: political candidates invoking their departed relatives deemed to have been persons of virtue in order to gain public approval, which may eventually be translatable to votes. According to Professor Dennis Coronacion, a University of Santo Tomas political science professor, there's an indication that the Aquino family had experienced this kind of phenomenon. When Senator Ninoy Aquino was assassinated in 1983, his widow Corazon became a presidentiable. When President Cory Aquino died, her only son, who was a legislator, suddenly rose to prominence as the preferred candidate, dislodging the anointed LP candidate, Ma Rojas, in 2010. I think
masabi kong magkaroon ng repeat history, pero ang masasabi ko lang is that isang phenomenon, malaking phenomenon sa ating bansa yung tinatawag na necropolitics. Yung bang nananalo yung isang kamag-anak nung namatay dahil sa outpouring of sympathy doon sa namatay. At saka yung nostalgia ba na kung siya pa ay nabubuhay. So lahat yun bumabalik sa isipan ng mga botante, ng mga tao, at nagiging dahilan upang madalo yung kanyang kamag-anak.
According to Coronacion, the opposition group may use the legacy of the late Pinoy as a capital for the upcoming elections.
Pero kung meron tayong ipahiram si former President Pinoy sa opposition, yun yung kanyang magandang legacy na walang bahid doon sa kanyang pangalan. Pagdating sa corruption,
Nel Marie Buhok, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
As the election nears, some political analysts explain that candidates use alliances to boost campaign machineries and garner more votes. Meanwhile, an analyst believes that political party system in the country has become weaker. Harleen Delgado will tell us why.
Various political parties are now forming coalitions and renewing alliances. Political analyst Professor Dennis Coronacion says politicians gunning for national positions use this to boost their campaign and widen their reach.
Well, importante kasi they provide the machinery for any politician who's running for a national position. Tutulungan yung mga yan even though during elections, of course, iniisip muna nila pang sariling interest nila. But those who are smart would realize na kinakailangan nila ng tulong ng ibang kagaya nila ng mga politiko rin.
Earlier, the Lakas CMD has renewed its alliance with Davao City Mayor Sara Duterte Carpia's regional party, Hugpong ng Pagbabago. Its president, House Majority Leader Martin Romualdez says the party is ready to work for the presidential daughter's victory if she plans to seek higher office. For political analyst Ramon Casiple, Mayor Sara should choose a national party and not her regional party should she decide to run for the presidency.
You cannot choose the regional party as your national party kasi regional party yan. Hanggang ano lang yan, yung region lang ang license niya.
Meanwhile, Casiple laments the weakening political party system in the country, citing instability among parties.
Kailangan mag-mature yung ating political party system. Nang sa ganun, ang partido ang siyang nagde-determine ng kandidato, yung kanilang process, hindi yung case ngayon, pamilya, sino may pera, yun ang nagde-determine. May mga tumatakbo, hindi member ng partido, hindi opisyal ng partido, pero ina-adapt ng partido.
Casiple expects aspiring national candidates will begin announcing their bids next month. The filing of the certificates of candidacy for the 2022 elections will start in October. Jorlin Delgado, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
President Rodrigo Duterte will deliver his last State of Nation Address or SONA at the Batasang Pambansa on July 26, 2021. According to Presidential Security Group Chief Brigadier General Jesus Durante, the initial setup will be the same as last year. The number of attendees will be limited and health and safety protocols will be strictly observed.
For now, ang plano is doon po sa Batasan yung SONA same as with last year. At doon po ang primary plan. And nagkaroon na po ng template since last year is pandemic na po at natuloy po ang SONA ng Presidente.
For those watching our 24/7 live streaming on YouTube, please click the subscribe button you see on your screen and ring the bell for notification. You may also follow us on Facebook.
The U.S. State Department has approved the possible sale of F-16 fighter jets and missiles to the Philippines. Maeve Yandog will tell us why live. Maeve, how much does the fighter jets cost and what are the inclusions?
Jego, with a combined value of more than $2.43 billion or 18 billion pesos, fighter jets and other military equipments could be sold to the Philippines, the Defense Security Corporation Agency or DSCA reported on Thursday. The Philippines has requested to buy 10 F-16C Block 7072 aircraft, 24 air-to-air missiles, modular mission computers, missile launchers, tactical radio system, and ammunition, and among others. The DSCA said in a statement that the proposed sale of assets supports the national security and foreign policy interest of the U.S., adding that the proposed sale of this equipment and support will not alter the basic military balance in the region. The announcement was made following the United States seeking renewal of an agreement which governs U.S. troop presence in the Philippines through the Visiting Forces Agreement or VFA. This agreement also plays a role in countering expanding Chinese activity in Asia. Meanwhile, visiting fellow at the American Enterprise Institute, Eric Sayers, said that the move appears to be a proactive effort by the U.S. to remain the security partner of choice for Manila. The DSCA said American aerospace, defense, and technology firm Lockheed Martin Corporation will be the principal contractor for the potential sale. While the sales have been approved by the U.S. State Department, an official contract between the two countries has not been signed yet, nor have negotiations been concluded. Jego?
Thank you, Maeve Yandog, reporting live from Kingaroy, Queensland, Australia. Philippine National Police or PNP Chief Police General Guillermo Eleazar signed a dismissal order of 2 policemen involved in the killing of a fellow cop. Eleazar said Police Corporal Sherwin Rebot is guilty of grave misconduct, violation of Presidential Decree number 1829, simple irregularity in the performance of duty, less grave neglect of duty and conduct unbecoming of a police officer. Meanwhile, Police Corporal Harold Mendoza is also found guilty of less grave neglect of duty, simple irregularity in the performance of duty, and conduct unbecoming of a police officer. The 2 cops initially claimed the victim, Police Corporal Higinio Wayan, had committed suicide. The PNP chief said further probe showed that Wayan had not fired a gun as the paraffin test on his body yielded a negative result for gunpowder nitrate. Rebot and Mendoza were also slapped with criminal charges. Eleazar said that this should serve as a warning for PNP personnel not to violate any on-duty protocols.
The general community quarantine with heightened restrictions in the National Capital Region plus areas will end on Wednesday, June 30th. But health experts warn against easing quarantine protocols in the metro amid the decline of COVID-19 cases. Aiko Miguel explains why.
As much as possible, the existing quarantine restrictions in the country should be extended for 15 more days, according to infectious disease expert and vaccine expert panel member Dr. Rontin Solante. In this manner, more transmissible variants, Delta and Delta Plus, will not have a chance to enter the country.
I highly recommend that, no? Kasi especially now na meron na tayong problema sa mayroong impending problem with the Delta variant, especially with other countries and entering Philippines.
Dr. Solante adds the country, especially its health system, will be in a worse condition if there will be COVID-19 surge again and hospitals will be overwhelmed with COVID-19 patients.
Sana naman hindi darating yan dito sa Pilipinas because that will be really dangerous in terms of responsible for the number of cases. Ayaw kasi natin talagang tumataas ang kaso and we cannot afford that na another lockdown affected ang economy natin.
Although it appears in studies that COVID-19 vaccine's efficacy will be reduced because of the more dangerous Delta and Delta Plus variants. According to a scientist and vaccine expert panel member, Dr. Isagani Padulina, COVID-19 vaccination can help prevent mutations of COVID-19 variants. If there will be more vaccinees, cases will decline and mutations of existing COVID-19 variants, like in the Philippines, will be prevented.
COVID-19 vaccination is an important tool to help stop the pandemic because it will reduce transmissibility because you don't have the vaccine replicating anymore in a lot of bodies. You limit transmission, you'll prevent severe hospitalization. And one thing that it will also prevent is it will prevent mutation because you don't have it replicating that much anymore. Mutation only happens when they replicate a lot. So the more replication happens, the more mutation happens.
Vaccine experts continue to remind the public to get their jab, especially those who belong to the priority sector, in order to get protected from more contagious Delta and Delta Plus COVID-19 variants. Aiko Miguel, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
The Philippines logged 6,812 new cases of COVID-19, pushing the nationwide tally to 1,385,053. In its latest bulletin, the Department of Health, or DOH, said the number of active cases in the country rose to 55,293. Of this figure, 90.8% are mild, 4.6% are asymptomatic, 1.35% are moderate, 1.9% are severe, and 1.3% are critical. The DOH also reported 2,867 new recovered patients, pushing the total recoveries to 1,305,608. The COVID-related deaths rose to 24,152 with 116 new fatalities. The DOH noted that all accredited testing laboratories were able to submit data on time. Philippine vaccine experts are currently studying the request of Russia's Gamaleya Research Institute to have a longer interval between the required 2 doses of Sputnik V. Ray Pelayo will tell us why.
The Gamaleya Research Institute has sought to amend its COVID-19 vaccines emergency use authorization. According to FDA Director General Eric Domingo, the Russian pharma wants to change the Sputnik V's 2-dose interval from the original of 21 days to 3 months. However, the country's vaccine experts panel are asking for data that would fix the maximum period for administering the second dose.
Wala naman kasing problem kapag nadidelay ang second dose, pero may hinihingi lamang silang datos para ma-fix kung kailan po talaga yung maximum period, no, ng pagbigay ng second dose. So kapag naman po nakasagot ang Gamaleya at mabigay po nila yung data nila, madidesisyon na naman po agad yun.
Meanwhile, according to Dr. Ron Jean Solante, Filipinos who received their first dose of Sputnik V has nothing to worry even if the delivery of supplies faces delay.
So hindi natin pahayagan na walang second dose. So kung ma-delay man yan, as long as the delay is not after 6 months or after a year, no, that will be dangerous, no. So let's see kung ang delay lang 4 weeks or 2 months, I think it's still good, no? It can still be a good vaccine. There will still be partial protection based on initial data, and we don't need to worry for that, no.
As for the plan to register Sputnik V as a single-dose shot, Domingo said Gamaleya Institute has yet to submit an application and scientific data for it. Ray Pelayo, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
The COVID-19 vaccine manufactured by India's Bharat Biotech can now be imported and used in the Philippines after it was granted full emergency use authorization or EUA by the Food and Drug Administration or FDA. During a public briefing, FDA Director General Eric Domingo said the FDA has granted full EUA for Bharat Biotech's Covaxin vaccine upon completion of required documents. Covaxin had earlier received EUA from FDA early on in the second quarter of the year, conditional on its submission of Good Manufacturing Practices certification. The FDA chief previously said Covaxin can be administered to people aged 18 and above. It is a traditional inactivated whole variant vaccine and is said to have an 81% efficacy rate. Presidential Security Group Chief Brigadier General Jesus Durante confirms that President Rodrigo Duterte has already received his second dose of the COVID-19 vaccine developed by China's state-owned Sinopharm. Rosa Licos reports.
President Rodrigo Duterte is already fully vaccinated against COVID-19. According to Presidential Security Group Commander Brigadier General Jesus Durante, the chief executive received the second dose 14 days after his first dose of Sinopharm vaccine.
Si Pangulo po ay vaccinated na po siya at napakahalaga po nito para lalo namin siyang maingatan at lalo magagawa niya yun ng maayos at tuloy-tuloy yung kanyang tungkulin upang makapaglingkod sa ating kababayan. 14 days after that, yung activity, nagkaroon po siya ng second dose.
Opo. The president was inoculated with his first shot on May 3, 2021. The World Health Organization recommends that there be an interval of 3 to 4 weeks between the two Sinopharm doses. The palace said before that the president was waiting for the emergency use authorization of Sinopharm vaccine by the Food and Drug Administration or FDA before getting his second dose of the vaccine. It was on June 7, 2021 when FDA granted EUA to the 1,000 doses of Chinese donated Sinopharm vaccines. Rosa Licos, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
Meanwhile, presidential spokesperson Harry Roque contradicts the statement of Presidential Security Group Commander Brigadier General Jesus Durante on President Rodrigo Duterte's vaccination. In a statement, the palace official said Durante was mistakenly informed by his medical staff that a second dose was already administered to the president. He added the PSG chief has already apologized and rectified his remarks.
The Philippines has reached a milestone for vaccinating more than 700,000 individuals for just 2 days. According to the National Task Force Against COVID-19, the country may reach the 10 million mark in its COVID-19 vaccination program next week. JP Nunez will tell us why.
As of June 20, the National Task Force Against COVID-19 has already administered 8.4 million COVID vaccines. This June 23 and 24, the all-time high record of the total administered jobs has been reached, where 700,000 individuals received their first vaccine jobs. Meanwhile, in the National Capital Region, it has recorded 200,000 total administered vaccines to all the LGUs in Metro Manila.
Ito na ang pinakamataas nating nagawa sa loob nitong magkasunod na dalawang araw dahil sa efforts ng gobyerno at ng private sector. Dumadami ang mga bakuna, kaya tuloy-tuloy nating makikita pa ang pagtaas ng pagbabakuna natin araw-araw.
With these numbers, the National Task Force Against COVID-19 is confident that the Philippines will reach a total of 10 million administered vaccines, which is the initial target by the end of June. The NTF aims to reach 500,000 inoculation per day to achieve the 70% of vaccinated Filipinos by the end of the year to reach herd immunity. NTF Deputy Chief Implementer and Testing Czar Secretary Vince Dizon says all local government will receive allocation of the vaccines, but areas contributing to the economy and those experiencing COVID surge will be in priority.
Importanteng maintindihan din natin na hindi naman ibig sabihin na yung priority areas lang ang papadala natin ng bakuna. No, lahat ng mga area sa buong bansa ay pipilitin nating mabigyan ng bakuna dahil ito ang gusto ng ating mahal na Pangulo, pero syempre lahat ito ay nakadepende sa dami ng bakunang darating.
JP Nunez, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
The Philippine Overseas Employment Administration says the country's seafarer development is slowly returning to pre-pandemic levels. Janice Inhente will tell us why.
The Philippine Overseas Employment Administration, or POEA, reported that the country has deployed close to 30,000 seafarers last month. POEA Administrator Bernard Olague said the figure is only half of the number of sea-based workers sent abroad since January. The Philippines had been deploying about 40,000 seafarers monthly before the global health crisis.
Kung maalala nyo, last year nung nagsimula yung pandemic, bumagsak po ang ating deployment at kasama sa pagbagsak, of course, yung mga seafarers natin. Kung hindi ako magkakamali, nasa 2 digit lamang ang ating pinapalabas dahil wala pa pong crew change. Pero dahil po sa mga isinulong na napakaraming polisiya at programa ang ating pamahalaan, lumago po yung ating deployment. Napakagandang datos po nito kasi unti-unti na pong bumabalik ang datos natin doon sa pre-pandemic historical data natin.
POEA added the government's Crew Change Hub program has also helped to protect seafarers and prevent them from being infected by COVID-19.
Nagbukas po tayo ng maraming mga piers, maraming mga ports para ma-accommodate po yung pagpapalit ng ating mga marino at yung kanilang immediate repatriation.
Olalia said the government will ensure that all Filipino seafarers will receive their coronavirus shots. Janice Inhente, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
And for the news abroad, as the violence spikes to unprecedented levels in Haiti, one of the country's most powerful gang leaders declared he was launching a revolution against political and business elites. Marvy Delfin will give us the details live. Marvy?
Mariel Jimmy Cherizier, alias Barbecue, who heads the so-called G9 Federation of 9 gangs, gave a statement to local media saying the G9 had become a revolutionary force against the government opposition and the upper class. In recent weeks, there has been an uptick in violence as rival groups have been battling with one another and with the police to take control of the streets. Many officers have died in confrontations with armed bandits, and Haiti's police are not equipped to deal with gang members who have acquired more complex weaponry. According to the Center for Human Rights Analysis and Research, these armed groups have become increasingly powerful due to political unrest and growing poverty. While the UN Office for the Coordination of Human Affairs, or OCHA, highlights that the violence has displaced thousands and is exacerbating a humanitarian crisis in which nearly half of the population is facing high acute food insecurity. This is on top of the surge of COVID-19 infections and the vaccination campaign that is yet to start. Marielle?
All right, Marvy, thank you for that live report. Legal provisions that force married couples in Japan to use the same family name were again ruled as constitutional, upholding the same judgment from 2015 by the Supreme Court in the country. Nina Bascon will tell us why.
Japan's top court have ruled once again on Wednesday that married couples must share a commonly agreed surname, either of the husbands or of the wives. According to the century-old provision, couples are to establish a shared surname according to the family register law for their marriage registration to be accepted. As stated in Article 750 of Japan's Civil Code, a husband and wife shall adopt a surname, which is decided by the time of marriage. A request filed by 3 different couples in 2019 to keep their family names was dismissed, based on the Civil Code and the Family Register law. As of 2015, only 4% of married couples in Japan use the wife's last name. With more females claiming they face the risk of losing their identities, some public and private companies in Japan now slowly allow for maiden names to appear on identification cards. Only Japan has a law forcing Japanese married couples to share a surname, according to the Justice Ministry. Nina Bascon, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
Meanwhile, one of the star cars in 2001 film The Fast and the Furious, driven by the late Paul Walker, has found a new home when a 1994 Toyota Supra was sold at an auction price for more than $500,000. Amiel Pascual will tell us why.
The Fast and the Furious Candy Orange car continues to make history when Barrett Jackson hosted an auction for the Supra in Las Vegas and was sold to an undisclosed phone bidder at a staggering amount of $550,000.
Sold for $500,000 coming on the phone.
The 4-speed automatic 6-cylinder Toyota car engine, with its 569 horsepower, was driven by the late Paul Walker for a number of exterior and interior scenes in the movie. Before becoming one of Hollywood's most iconic cars, it went through some modifications for the movie, including its paint from yellow to candy orange facelift and upholstery boost. Although not known to many, Universal Pictures had to create 7 replicas of the 1994 Supra for different stunts, and some had a purchase price of $19,000. The Fast and the Furious Toyota Supra, originally built by the late Eddie Paul at the Shark Shop, certainly has added itself to the long list of iconic and expensive movie cars, like the 1968 Ford Gulf GT40 that was sold for $11 million. Amiel Pascual, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
The funeral mass for former President Benigno Noynoy Aquino III will be held tomorrow morning at the Church of the Jesuit at the Ateneo de Manila University. Afterward, the urn of the former president will be brought to the Manila Memorial Park in Sucat, Parañaque for burial. The convoy of Aquino will traverse C5 to SLEX on its way to Manila Memorial. Individuals who wish to pay their final respects along the route were advised to observe health protocols against the coronavirus disease 2019. And before we close, we will leave you with a final word, giving glory to God. From the book of Job, chapter 5, verse 8 and 10, it says, I would seek unto God, and unto God would I commit my cause, who giveth rain upon the earth, and sendeth waters upon the fields. And those are the reasons behind the news, June 25, 2021. I am Herlene Delgado.
Reasons we deliver to you as they unfold. I'm Angelo Castro III.
Because we need to know, we will always ask why. I am Kat Dumaraos. We serve the people, we give glory to God.